Hello, Singaporeans and my viewers. Local media spins Singapore as affordable. Foreign commentators cheer, elites applaud. But the research says something else entirely. Have you seen the research by the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and the reports spun out of it in the news? If you have not, you should go and read the article. Well, some could not hold back their cheer when researchers at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy published their latest cost of living study. On Facebook, one foreign commentator shouted that someone had finally done it properly. The claim was simple. Singapore is expensive for foreigners, but it is supposedly affordable for Singaporeans who make the right choices. At least one establishment voice quickly signaled approval, and another one was quick to like it. No names needed, you know the type. It was comforting for them. It fit the national story of a smart and well-managed city where life is good if you follow the rules. I step back and I see a story that is too neat and too convenient. I had a look at the study. The way the findings were pushed on social media and in the news hides more than it reveals. Actually, if you read the study and ignore the cheerleading, you will find a picture that feels closer to the ground. What the study really shows, let me break it down for you. The study by Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, Asia's Competitiveness Institute, is serious work. It is clear about its limits and stronger than most commercial surveys. It does one important thing. It separates costs for expats and for locals. Expats are assumed to live in condos, drive and send children to international schools. Locals are assumed to live in HDB flats, eat hawker food, and take public transport. On this basis, Singapore ranks 4th most expensive in the world for expats, but only 28 for locals. A big gap, isn't it? This has been used to argue that Singaporeans are fortunate compared to foreigners. It sparked the usual "I told you so" moments among the elite. As in almost all surveys, research and studies, the important question to ask is what gets left out. The problem is not the research. The problem is what gets ignored when people turn it into a victory lap. Wages and incomes. Prices mean little without looking at wages. Cities like New York, Zurich, Seattle, and Geneva often cost more, but ordinary workers there usually earn much more too, and this is a true fact. Their paychecks stretch further. In many of those cities, expats and locals earn about the same, and in some cases, expats even earn less than the locals. So feel free to check the facts out. Singapore is different. Here, expats at the top end earn far more, while many locals are paid much lesser. And the study does not address that gap. So even if we sit at 28th place, Singaporeans can be squeezed harder than workers in the so-called most expensive cities. Expat basket versus local basket. The expat basket is built around a tiny privileged group, senior managers, diplomats, corporate assignees. They get perks when few locals and few ordinary foreigners ever see. In New York or Zurich, expats do not stand for apart from locals. In Singapore, the gulf is wide. Most foreigners here are not living the expat life. Regional hires, PRs, and many white-collar workers are nowhere in these numbers. Their reality is invisible in this comparison. it is also crucial to recognize that the old idea of expats all being on cushy expat packages is mostly outdated. Today, it is estimated that at least 60 to 70% of foreign professionals in Singapore are all on local salary terms, drawing the same base pay as locals in similar roles without the classic housing and school allowance, except for shrinking handful of senior leaders or rare specialists. The experiential basket in the research, however, is still constructed around the traditional expat consumption profile: private housing, international schooling, car ownership, and goods aimed at Western tastes, which apply only to a small and shrinking upper tier of foreign professionals. That means most expats, like local hires, feel the squeeze of Singapore rents and daily costs without the insulation of golden perks. So when we talk about a big expat and local divide in cost of living studies, it is really describing a small privileged segment of foreigners. What do you think? The majority of both locals and foreign professionals now face similar pay scales and day-to-day financial pressures, which makes the headline gap less meaningful than it first appears. Index numbers are not real life. New York is set at 100, and all other cities, including Singapore, which scores between 50 and 65, are indexed as a percentage of New York's cost of living. It sounds neat. It measures prices, not life. It tells you nothing about job stability, whether incomes are keeping up with rising costs, or if families can support children and elderly parents without anxiety. It does not show inequality. While official figures show small wage increases, about 4% in recent years, many middle-class families still find their incomes lag behind rising costs, and this is a true fact. It's not surprised then that 60% of Singaporeans now live paycheck to paycheck. The myth of choice. The happy story says that Singaporeans just need to choose wisely. Buy a HDB flat, take the MRT, eat hawker food. But who can eat hawker food every day, 365 days, and even hawker food is not cheap anymore, and this is a true fact. But not everyone gets those choices. Singles face rules that keep them out. Many families who are struggling cannot catch up, no matter how carefully they plan. Elderly people living alone cannot rely on small subsidies to cover rising costs. Hawker food and MRT rides are not always cheap, as I mentioned, and accessible to everyone anymore. Choice is not a policy. It is a slogan that fades when the bill arrives. The question that matters: so what if Singapore is 28 for local? A ranking means nothing if wages do not keep up with the things you must pay for. The gap between top earners and the rest keeps growing. Essentials take most of the paycheck. The sense of a cost of living crisis is real. Talk to young couple trying to buy their first home, watching prices rise faster than their savings, and this is a true fact today. You can see the BTO prices. Talk to a Grab driver who fills his tank and feels half his day earnings vanish before he has even picked up a passenger. Talk to a caregiver peeling off notes from a thin wallet to pay for a parent's dialysis, hoping the cash lasts to month end. Talk to a retiree opening another medical bill, the paper shaking in his hands. For them, the ranking is not only irrelevant, it is cruel. What do you think? Time to get real. This is not about trashing research. It is about seeing the full picture. Costs in this are useful, but they are only one piece of the puzzle. Without income, wage equality, and social protections in the frame, the rankings are far from the truth. when foreign commentators and local elites clap for each other over numbers that hide as much as they reveal, I will push back. So the next time you see a glowing post or a headline bragging that life here is cheap and good, ask who is missing from that picture. Real cost of living pain cannot be ranked away. We have to talk about lived reality, not a spreadsheet story. We should demand more than numbers. We should demand a city that works for everyone. A Singapore that works for every Singaporean, not only for the wealthy, not only for the average on paper, but for all of Singaporeans, for all of us. Lastly, I would love to hear your thoughts. I am Ben Puah. Thank you.